guess what we learned today at school?
What did you learn?
We learned about how the earth went around the sun.
Do you want to tell them the truth?
Yeah. So first, God set the earth on its foundation. It can never be moved. So how does it go around the sun? Second, God is enthroned above the circle. Yes, it is a circle, but not round like a ball. He's enthroned above the circle of the earth. Third, in Revelations, it says that there are four corners of the earth. Now, tell me, how can there be four corners of a round ball? Okay, fourth, God created a firmament, split the waters above and below. This is why our rainbows are shaped how they are. And when you hear thunder, it echoes off our firmament. Fifth, in Isaiah, God sits on his throne above the circle of the earth. Also, God set the sun, the moon, and the stars in the firmament to give Earth light. This gives you an idea of what our Earth actually looks like. We have never gone past the firmament, and let me tell you this. NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. All this was about was question everything. Oh, and I need to add that the moon and sun move around inside of our firmament.
Airline pilots literally have to pretend that the earth is not flat to keep their job. Can we please stop with the narrative that everything is okay? Because it's not. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And when the Spirit moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be a firmament," rakia, pounded out hard. Ezekiel calls it the hard, pounded out, terrible stone of the sky. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons." Talking about all the lights of the sky, the luminary, the sun, moon, and stars. This is a great illustration. Guys, this is high altitude, long endurance, or HAIL planes that NASA uses. This is HAIL D from Lockheed and Martin. This one is just hilarious. This is on Sesame Street, and they have the fiction section with the globe and the rocket. On Warner von Braun's literal tombstone, it's Psalms 19:1, and it says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork."
Einstein was a fraud. I believe that he set us back 100 years within physics.
You actually think that?
Oh yeah. I mean, nothing like general relativity has so many holes. At this point, it's just an overfitted model that, and the media doesn't talk about all the failures of general relativity. I think that this whole thing that everything's like this cult of bumping particles is absolutely insane. I think that there's like a medium out there, you know, like when they talk about, vacuum energy, right? Like 0 point energy.
0 point, yeah.
What are they talking about? They're talking about the ether, right? There's a pressure medium. It's dense, seems kind of inelastic, and it's vibrating, and you can actually pull that energy out of the vibrating medium. But don't call it the ether, because we've already proven that the ether doesn't exist. So they have to like come up with all these different names, like vacuum energy and da-da-da.
So all of the thousands of astronauts for 60 years are lying. Well, according to astronomy.com, only 667 people have journeyed to an altitude of 50 miles, which is nothing. That's not space. 24 have been to the moon, and 12 has actually walked on it. Here's something I want you just to think about, okay? Without judgment, just think about this. The moon is 238,000 miles away, right? Have you heard of something called the Van Allen belt? It's a zone of energetic charged particles, most of which originate from the solar wind, okay? This is a belt that is around. This is in between us and the moon. So it goes us, the Van Allen belt, and the moon. The Van Allen belt starts at about 400 miles and goes to 36,000 miles. This is pretty close, way more close compared to the moon. Do you know how hot it gets at this level? Okay, the regions in the Van Allen belt go from 2,000 to 20,000 Kelvin. Well, what's Kelvin? 2,000 Kelvin equals 3,100 degrees. 20,000 Kelvin equals 35,000 degrees. 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Are you still with me? The Eagle lunar module used in the Apollo program was built mostly and completely of aluminum. So you're telling me that the aluminum in the ship alone can stand the 35,000 degree temperature, when the space shuttle thermal protection system can only withstand 3,000 degrees. Okay, so the lowest number in the Van Allen belt will melt the thermal protection system. So you're telling me that this shuttle was able to traverse 30,000 miles of temperatures up to 35,000 degrees and still be able to make it to the moon, which is still over 200,000 miles away. The entry orbiter itself is made of reinforced carbon. Reinforced carbon melts at 3,600 degrees. Its boiling point is at 4,200 degrees, and the Van Allen belt reaches 35,000 degrees. So they would have to go through a radiation belt that would melt them, yet they had somehow a way to make it to the moon, and then were able to transmit a viable signal through this Van Allen belt that's 30,000 miles wide with temperatures up to 35,000 degrees. And you're telling me back in 1960, we could watch that television live without any interruption? And here I am losing my signal every time a plane flies over me. Oh, but it's because they have the satellites in space, right? So in 1960, they had the satellite that could beam through the Van Allen belt, which is at 600 miles up. Yet the moon, which is another 200 and something thousand miles away, the ship was able to make it through 35,000 degrees of temperature when its boiling point, just for the carbon within it, is only 4,200 degrees. You're telling me that these thousands of astronauts went and then lied. Actually, no, 24 went to the moon and only 12 walked on it. Do you know how easy it is to control 24 people? Especially when you have a lot of money to do it. Yeah. We totally went to the moon. Totally. Go ahead and think on what I said without any judgment in your mind, and you tell me how the ship of NASA's just survived a 35,000 degree Van Allen belt. There is no getting through Allen. None. There's no getting through it. No way. Not even the signal. We did not have the technology back then to get that signal through that Van Allen belt. Plain and simple. Go back to NASA and ask them to explain that one to you.
Some would say that this is Stanley Kubrick's official confession that he had something to do with the Apollo 11 mission, but is there any other evidence out there that he was involved? Well, this is Stanley being approached by NASA officials sometime before the Apollo missions and after 2001: A Space Odyssey, one of Stanley's films that NASA officials were interested in, and they were interested in his models that he had made. And that's where a lot of the speculation came from, that Stanley Kubrick had something to do with these supposed models that were made, which raises enough questions. But what about this? This is a special lens by Carl Zeiss that only Stanley Kubrick, Carl Zeiss, and NASA even have the privilege of owning, and wouldn't you know it, they were used in the Apollo missions. And a lot of people ask, where's all the original Apollo moon mission data? Well, it first went through the hands of a man named John Knoll, which is the creator of Photoshop. So all the Apollo moon missions were re-released after they went through the hands of arguably the world's greatest animator. And NASA's no stranger to being affiliated with the world's greatest animator, because here is Wernher von Braun, the Yahtzee scientist that was brought over to NASA from Operation Paperclip, hanging out with the world's greatest animator at the time, Walt Disney. King of rockets, king of animation, but that's not all. Here's an article on NASA's website called We Are NASA, talking about the junior animator and graphic designer contractor, Reese Patillo. Yeah. one of the greatest animators. We are NASA. We all remember Robert Simmons, the creator of the Blue Marble, but that's old news. Nowadays, we have several stories of astrophysicists turned animator. Yeah. Seems that NASA is just full of professional animation artists. Weird, huh? I'll be honest, I miss the world of practical effects, but now everything just seems so crispy, and it's probably because it had to filter through the hands of the greatest names in digital effects. So before you start falling for all the fake Stanley Kubrick interviews and behind-the-scenes footage, why don't you look at the truth? That Stanley was in fact affiliated with NASA between the time of 2001: Space Odyssey and the moon landing, and their interest was in fact in scale model landers.
Now NASA is sending 3 rockets at the eclipse on April 8th. The NASA project is called Atmospheric Perturbations Around the Eclipse Path, or APEP. APEP is the name of an Egyptian serpent deity that eats the sun to embody chaos. APEP is also called Apophis, which is what the word apophenia comes from. Apophenia is considered the first stage in schizophrenia, when everything around you starts becoming synchronistic, like this whole eclipse. So is this a ritual? All these synchronicities? A ritual causing mass psychosis? There are tons of coincidences surrounding this eclipse, like the 7 cities it's crossing named Salem and Nineveh, or Corpus Christi, the body of Christ, or the cicadas that will come out of the ground that day, or the New Madrid seismic zone being the same as the path of totality. Sending a rocket to the moon is really just like a large-scale sex magic ritual based on Osiris rising. Osiris, an Egyptian deity, was brought back from the dead with an obelisk in a sex magic ritual. A rocket is just like a giant obelisk. The moon is the feminine aspect. So the obelisk to the moon or a rocket to the moon is a sex magic ritual. Ironically, Osiris rose from the dead with an X over his chest, and this eclipse is being called the X eclipse. We know that those in charge need chaos to create order. Orbital chaos, a Latin phrase that means order out of chaos that the Masonic order believes in. I know it's no coincidence that this project that NASA's doing is called APEP, a serpent that eats the sun like the eclipse to embody chaos.
Okay, just want to be transparent here on one of the rockets that are going to be shooting up into the sky with the whole NASA Serpent Deity program. Yeah, I know I don't look that evil, but you should see me without the rocket. Got my pitchfork, got horns. Boo! Anyway, I just need to find out from Alexa why we're doing this, because it seems sus. You can shoot rockets up in the sky anytime, but we got to do it on the day of the eclipse. I should get overtime. Alexa, why is NASA shooting rockets on April 8th?
From nasa.gov. 3 sounding rockets will be launched during the solar eclipse on April 8th to study how the sudden drop in sunlight affects our upper atmosphere.
Really? Couldn't study that any other time. Sudden drop in sunlight affects our atmosphere. It's not really a drop. It's just something covering the sun. Oh my God. I don't trust this whole thing. I was told that I could just be a rocket. Got inspired by Elton John. I'm a rocket man burning on the hill of Santa Monica. I never know the lyrics of that. It's burning all in my head and on. Burning all the gas up in my chrome. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Alexa, can an asteroid cause the eclipse?
From meaww.com. The asteroid causing the eclipse, Leona, is a slowly rotating, oblong space rock located in the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter.
Shut up! Asteroid Leona's causing the eclipse! It just gets more and more! Alexa, what's the asteroid Leona have to do with the eclipse?
From popsci.com. Asteroid Leona will pass in front of the red supergiant star, temporarily blocking some of its light in a rare eclipse.
Alexa, when's Leona, the asteroid, gonna pass by? I got too bad question. Alexa.
I missed something.
Yep, I know.
Can you say it again?
Yes, because I didn't. I got too nervous. Alexa, the asteroid Leona, is that for this eclipse on April 8th?
From meaww.com. The asteroid causing the eclipse, Leona, is a slowly rotating, oblong space rock located in the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter.
Okay, I'm done. That's enough. It's enough. You guys do the research. I present. I'm a presenter, an entertainer, a little bit of a truther, and a rocket. Alexa, play Rocket Man.
Rocket Man, I Think It's Going to Be a Long, Long Time, by Elton John, on Amazon Music.
She packed my bags last night, pre-flight.
So on opening day, this is just a reminder that water finds its level, and we live on a flat Earth. Have a good day.
Yeah, we can. We can go to a lake and prove it. Okay, this is what makes me think that NASA is lying to me. I remember when I first got born again years ago. I got saved, and I become religious, and I started reading the Bible, and then I read something about the firmament, and I didn't know what it was.
That's what the Bible used to call like space, like what's outside.
That's what some people say, and the reason why a lot of us don't look more into flat Earth is because when it is brought up, we're fed propaganda. Like for instance, you see like a pancake Earth out of space, then you hear somebody talking about it. That's not what we think. We don't think that, but that's what the image is that's fed, and then they mocking like flat Earth and telling us why. Well, if the Earth was flat, then gravity would pull everything to the center. All this propaganda. Okay, so when I learned about the firmament, I went back. When I heard about the firmament, I went back to the Bible and I said, "Oh yeah, this is what it is." I didn't know what it was, and I remember the Bible saying it's separate the waters from the waters. Then I looked up the word firmament, and I looked up the old word. You got to look up what the old word is and stuff like that. And then I figured out what that was, and then that sent me on my journey because it was hard for me to believe. And then I wasn't believing. I was like, it's just all conspiracy until I came across this one video of this guy talking about emergency landings, and this is the one thing that tipped me over to believing the flat Earth, and for a few reasons. I remember this older white lady that was talking about racism in America, and she was talking about how our continent is shaped different. Some continents are bigger than what they put in the maps. So she said they mess with the maps and how thing is, and then this guy was talking about emergency landings. He was saying that one time this Asian lady was coming from Asia, I think Taiwan or somewhere, flying to LAX, and she was pregnant, but she was lying about how far along she was. So she got on the plane anyway, and then she started giving birth on the plane. So they had to make an emergency landing from Asia to Alaska. And if you pay attention to where Alaska is on the globe, that is not an emergency landing. And then his roommate was like, what's going on? He said, man, I can't figure out how this is emergency landing when they're coming from Asia going to LA, and they stopped in Alaska all the way over here. Like, why? How is that an emergency? Why did they stop there? And then he said, oh, that makes perfect sense on a flat Earth map. Then he pulled up a scientific, real flat Earth map from 1800. The guy was like, what is flat Earth map? He said, the United Nations logo. They use it. They throwing it in our face. The map that we use is wrong. It's different. They changed it. This is the actual map, and you can look up in the encyclopedias. You can go and check one out. The library. It's a map it says like it's proven. It's a map, and it's scientifically proven. It's a fact that these are the maps that they use. It's a flat Earth map, and you have to fly over Alaska to get to LA. So
from Asia.
Yeah, but Alaska is right by us. It's not far up, but by LA. It's not west. Far. It's not more north than what we think. So like we've been lied to. So that is an emergency landing. Then I started looking to other emergency landings, and I started looking to like layovers and stuff like that. And a lot of stuff didn't make sense. Why they would fly all the way up here to change, then like the flat Earth map is totally different. Then once you kind of look into the flat Earth map, and then and when you fly across the world, and you know like the layouts and where to stop and stuff, then it kind of make sense. The flat Earth, and that's what took me over the edge, was that the emergency landings thing.
The flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni, and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Idialenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.